Katrine Lund, PhD in rhetoric, has together with Pernille Steensbech Lemée, MA, in rhetoric and media science, developed the rhetorical compass. The rhetorical compass is used for analysis of communication as well as for planning communication. The compass is a suitable tool regardless of whether you need to compile a website, a folder, or a whole campaign. It can thus be used for both large and small tasks. The compass consists of a core and 8 needles that show you the direction of your communication. The core of the model is the receiver. The rest of the compass is built around the receiver. This indicates that the recipient is important when we work with communication, as it is the recipient we want to reach with our messages. So the first step in communication is to know who our recipients are. Each of the 8 needles represents conditions you need to be aware of in a communication process aimed at the recipient. We shall now review each of the 8 needles individually. The first needle is sender. It is about the image of the sender. The sender must, in the eyes of the receiver, be considered to be competent and secure, committed and living, honest and compassionate. As a sender, it is important to make clear who you are and pay attention to your image. You have to look at yourself as the sender and be very clear about who you are and how you want to appear. The second needle is purpose. Purpose of communication can be sales, enlightenment, propaganda, information, etc. You must be fully aware of the purpose of your own communication. You should also try to understand your target audience's purpose in participating in the process. The third needle is subject. The subject the sender chooses to send is of great importance to the communication towards the receiver. Is the subject communicated clearly, concretely, and alive? Is it spicy with pictures and concrete examples? Is it convincing? And does it appeal both logically and emotionally? The fourth needle is the channel sometimes called media, and is the means or ways of transmitting the message from sender to the receiver. There are many types of media communication. These may include television, newspapers, posters, radio, leaflets, magazines, and websites, to name a few. Any media sets special requirements. You can speak or write easily or use technical language. Pictures say more than 1,000 words, and in some media content, people expect film or pictures. The use of humour is extremely difficult on all media. Never talk and never write down to people. You can only avoid the pitfalls if you know your target audience. The fifth needle is genre. Genre is about language usage. It is the content that determines genre or narrative form. You can talk, write, or make a storyboard in a fair, dramatic, humorous way, and so on. There is no right or wrong genre. An SMS correspondence between 2 teenagers will typically have a genre of slang. A letter from a lawyer is often stiff and very correct. The annual speech from the head of state is usually very serious. It will be the recipients who in the end judge the result. The sixth needle is progress. You must think about the purpose of each and every section of the communication. What is the purpose of the beginning? Should it provoke, create an overview or a good mood? What is the purpose of the ending? Is it to start a thinking process, to create debate, or get the recipients to conclude or act in a certain way? In progress, we also take into account the process that the recipient is going through from the beginning to the end. On a website, you will find yourself in the user's place and think about how they get information through a website as they click through. The seventh needle is form. The form must live up to the 4 virtues of the language. Appropriate is the first virtue. The language meets the requirements of the situation and is therefore adapted to all the compass factors. Clarity is the second virtue. It requires focus, clear disposition, understandable language and concrete examples. Properly is the third virtue. This requires that grammar, word choice and pronunciation basically are in order. Vivid is the fourth and last virtue. It requires examples, orality and small surprising glimpses. The eighth and last needle is context. Context is about physical and mental frameworks such as time, motivation, and mood of the recipients. We need to place our communication in a context where the recipients are ready to receive the communication. Once we've been through all 8 needles, we've made sure that our communication has been worked out and thought through with the recipient as the centre of our thoughts and actions, and hopefully it will affect the receiver as we wish. We are now going to review the compass and its content with the Australian non-profit organisation National Seniors as an example. The model states that the core of the communication process is to know the recipients. So the first step in communication is to know our recipient group. The National Seniors recipients are members and future members of their association. These are older people who would like to know something about their rights and maybe find fellowship with other elderly people. The association is very aware of their recipient group. They express themselves as follows. National Seniors are the consumer lobby for older Australians and the 4th largest organisation of its type in the world, providing unrivalled access to policymakers, a raft of commercial benefits, world-class research and top-notch publications. National Seniors is everything the over 50s need to navigate the second half of their lives. While the organisation stays true to its roots by giving older Australians, working and retired, a strong national voice, it also leads a new guard of seniors, the baby boomers, who are already redefining what it means to grow old. The sender in our example is the organisation National Seniors. As a sender, it is important to make clear who you are and what you stand for. You have to look at yourself as a sender and be very clear about who you are and how you want to appear. National Seniors presents itself as a trustworthy organisation that helps older people to cope with the commitments we all have as citizens. Retirement, finance, and the rapid development of technology are examples. The National Seniors organisation becomes your friend who helps you through the daily challenges of modern Australia. National Seniors also arranges tours and other social events. The purpose of communication with elderly people is to support their members, including supporting older people in Australia to be safe in the world. Information is an important purpose for National Seniors. For example, in relation to how to relate to taxes and other public issues. The subject National Seniors chooses to send is of great importance to the communication. A topic about an important tax action must be short and informative, and in a media that all members can receive. A subject such as an excursion can be communicated with a more social character and can be designed more creatively and ordinarily. The subject often determines which channel is used for communication. For National Seniors, the subject will be very crucial to what channel is being used. A website today reaches many users, including the elderly, but there are still older people who do not have internet or are not trained internet users. Therefore, National Seniors also sends letters directly to the members, as well as sending monthly news via their member magazine, 50-something, Australia's Over 50s magazine. Over time, the printed media will become a smaller and smaller channel. The elderly part of the population usually wants a genre that is formal and correct. However, when it comes to the National Seniors Association, where they are members, they also want the genre to be friendly, perhaps even family-like. Progress on the website of the National Seniors Association must take into account that the target group is elderly. They will select people among their own members to test that they can browse the site and get easy access to the information they want and need. When considering form, we need to consider the language and look at whether the material complies with the guidelines for the genre we are working on. The form must live up to the 4 virtues of the language. These are appropriate, clarity, properly, and vivid. The National Seniors Association must constantly be aware that the virtues are moving in relation to the media, the subject, and time. There is no fixed formula for proper composition. It will definitely change when the baby boomer generation gets older. They will redefine what it means to grow old. Context stands for the context in which the material is prepared. There must be a connection between the National Seniors Association website, the members' magazine, the letters they send, and other forms of communication, especially when publishing major campaigns. It should appear consistent and still be part of the larger context of the association. The same message everywhere, even though it is conveyed from different media. The subject of a campaign could be lower taxes for retirees. The subject should then appear on and in all media that the association controls. The subject fits the overall purpose of the association. They fight for the rights of the elderly. If the National Seniors Association reviews the model every time they run a campaign, they will continuously adapt to changes from both members and from forthcoming factors. It will ensure a thorough communication with the receiver in the centre. Now we shall review a criticism of the model. The model gives no explanations of which of the 8 needles are the most important. The model does not provide a clear indication of how the individual needles affect each other. The model also does not provide a clear indication of which needle one should start with and in which order they should be reviewed. The model is a unique tool to remind you of all the important steps to go through and think about in your communication, but it is not a guarantee that your communication will be as effective as you wish.